Professor Whitehead, during the 80s and 90s, the relations between the US and Latin American countries have been extremely unbalanced. Do you believe that we are now at the eve of a major shift of power from the US to some Latin American countries?
Yes, I tried to emphasize in my talk a difference between South America and Mexico, Central America, Caribbean. I think that Latin America as a whole is not emerging in a unified way here, but there's quite a strong tendency in South America in particular, of course led by Brazil, but not confined to Brazil. UNASUR and various of the partnership arrangements that are emerging in South America, all of which signify a more independent, a more self-confident, and a more assertive South America. Now, when it comes to the rest of Latin America, obviously in the Caribbean we have a lot of problems which are connected with small islands that are very troubled and that are very dependent on things like tourism and on energy supplies and really need a lot of help and are not in a position to be more assertive. And in Mexico, we have the special problems that arise because of Mexico's close integration with NAFTA and the policies that the Calderon government and before that Zedillo and Fox pursued, which really involved Mexico to some extent turning away from Latin America. It is possible that in the future Mexico may start once again rebuilding bridges and becoming more of a partner with the South American countries. And in that case, Latin America as a whole would indeed be, to some extent, reducing its dependence on the United States. The South American countries are benefiting from the new opportunities they have with Asia. A lot of their trade is going to China, for example, and they're benefiting from the much greater financial security they have. The IMF is no longer in a position to dictate policies to them, for example.
Could you expect a major change in the making of US foreign policy with regard to Morales, Chavez, and other left-wing governments in Latin America?
There has been less change. There has been less change than some people had thought could happen in 2009. That's partly because Obama has so many other problems that he has to deal with, but it's also because of policy-making structures inside the US. A lot of decisions where the United States has impact on Latin America are taken in part by the Congress, not just by the executive. And the executive itself contains a lot of diverse interests and priorities. Some sectors of the Washington policy-making community are very well-informed and thoughtful and intelligent in their handling of the new left that is arising in Latin America. But they have to struggle always against other sectors of the bureaucracy and a public opinion and an opinion in Congress which is profoundly unsympathetic. The case of Cuba is the clearest illustration. Cuban policy, most people who think about it know that US policy on Cuba has not been successful. But it's extremely difficult to change it and difficult to put in a substantially better policy because the votes of the Cuban American community in Florida in particular are so important. And in the new Congress, for example, it's the most hardline Cuban Americans who have taken the positions of leadership in the House of Representatives foreign policy establishment. Those people are determined to pursue their agenda regardless of whether it has full support from the rest of the United States or not.